The Rock is behind Solo Sikoa, the best and worst of WWE Raw. Is Daniel Bryan heading back to WWE after leaving AEW? The New Day breaks up after replacing Big E on Raw. Randy Orton poses with WWE World Heavyweight title after Raw. The WWE abruptly cuts Braun Strowman from TV. Paul Heyman on the idea behind WWE's booking of Brock Lesnar. Cody Rhodes disappoints his fans. The Rock left the Dry. Let's dive right into it. The best and worst of WWE Raw. With just one more episode of WWE Raw before Bash in Berlin, tonight's show had to hit the mark, and it did. There was plenty to enjoy, although a few decisions left us puzzled. Overall, tonight's WWE Raw was a big win. Let's dive into the best and worst moments. Number 1. Best. Non-stop action throughout WWE Raw. One of the highlights of tonight's episode was the non-stop, high-quality in-ring action over the full 3 hours. Every match delivered, from the opening bout between Sheamus and Pete Dunne to Randy Orton's main event victory over Ludwig Kaiser. Triple H has done an impressive job building a roster capable of filling a 3-hour show with top-tier matches. The brawl between Maxine Dupree and Ivy Nile, leading up to the Wyatt Six appearance, was another standout moment. And a pleasant surprise of the night was how entertaining The Miz vs. Bronson Reed turned out to be. Number 2. Worst. No Ilya Dragunov in Berlin? This one stings a bit. Ilya Dragunov has been a major player on WWE Raw for the past few months, so it's disappointing to see his momentum slow down just before Bash in Berlin. Having grown up in the city, this could have been a homecoming moment for Dragunov. While there's still a chance he could compete in Germany, it seems unlikely he'll make it onto the premium live event card. He would have been a fantastic challenger for Braun Breaker's Intercontinental Championship, even if he didn't win. Unfortunately, Dragunov wasn't even on WWE Raw tonight. He wrestled on main event before the show instead. While it's not the biggest issue, the timing feels off. The Mad Dragon should be gearing up for a big match at Bash in Berlin. Number 3. Best. A worthy challenge at last. After Bronson Reed took down The Miz in their no disqualification match, it looked like the Australian powerhouse was about to do even more damage. His tsunami finisher has become a huge crowd favorite, with fans on their feet every time he heads to the top rope. But just as he was about to go after The Miz, Braun Strowman made his entrance. The monster of all monsters confronted Reed, leading to an intense stare-down. Finally, Reed has a challenger who matches his size, without needing a sneak attack. If Reed can take down Strowman with the tsunami, it'll be another jaw-dropping moment that solidifies his dominance. Number 4. Worst. Less talking, more fighting. Please. We've had enough of the talking segments and promo battles. It's time for CM Punk and Drew McIntyre to throw down. With their match set for Bash in Berlin, the build-up needs more physicality to match the intensity of their feud. Punk is cleared to compete, so there's no reason for them not to go at it on WWE Raw. Their rivalry has reached a boiling point, especially after these past few months. While the old-school approach of limiting their encounters has worked at times, it's been too long since we've seen CM Punk and Drew McIntyre really go at it. The occasional one-sided beatdown, like last week's on Raw, doesn't cut it. A sneak peek of their strap match would have been great, but maybe they're saving the brawl for next week. Best. The Judgment Day stands tall. It looks like Triple H took the feedback to heart. After weeks of the Judgment Day struggling against the Terror Twins, the tide finally turned on WWE Raw. As Damian Priest headed to the ring to face Dominic Mysterio, the rest of the Judgment Day tried to take him down. Though Priest initially held his ground, things shifted when the women got involved. Just as Rhea Ripley seemed ready to put Dirty Dom through the announce table, Liv Morgan attacked her from behind. With Priest forced to watch as Mommy was assaulted, the numbers game eventually caught up with him. This was a big win for Finn Balor, who now feels like a real threat again. The mixed tag team match at Bash in Berlin is now wide open, with anything possible after this shift on WWE Raw. Is Daniel Bryan heading back to WWE after leaving AEW? Daniel Bryan, also known as Bryan Danielson, has become a hot topic in the wrestling world recently. Rumors about his return to WWE have been swirling ever since his AEW contract expired on August 1st, and he didn't sign a new deal with the promotion. Speculation grew even more when WWE mentioned Bryan on a recent episode of Monday Night Raw. During the match between Sheamus and Pete Dunne, commentator Michael Cole referenced Sheamus's world title win over Daniel Bryan in 18 seconds at WrestleMania. WWE rarely mentions former stars on their shows, so this sparked rumors of a possible return. However, the likelihood of Danielson coming back to WWE seems slim. He has stated in various interviews and podcasts that he's not interested in returning to the Stamford-based promotion. Instead, Bryan has envisioned spending the remainder of his career with AEW. Even though he didn't renew his contract, the veteran wrestler expressed a desire to explore other roles within AEW. This suggests that Daniel Bryan has no intention of returning to WWE. He is expected to stay involved with AEW in some capacity, even if he's not wrestling. The former world champion has acknowledged that his wrestling career is winding down, and he prefers to spend his final days in the Jacksonville-based promotion. As a result, the idea of Danielson returning to WWE seems far-fetched. It will be interesting to see what unfolds for him in the coming weeks. Bryan Danielson, who made his mark as Daniel Bryan, is one of the most decorated wrestlers in the history of the sport. However, the end of his in-ring career is on the horizon, as Bryan recently revealed his retirement timeline. He has stated that he doesn't plan to extend his career any further and intends to retire this year. According to the former WWE star, 2024 will be his final year as a full-time wrestler. His most recent AEW contract, which expired on August 1st, was his last, and he's eager to spend more time with his family. Bryan is set to wrap up his commitments at AEW All In, where he will face Swerve Strickland in a career versus title match. It remains to be seen whether Bryan Danielson will officially retire from wrestling or stay connected with AEW in some way in the months to come. The New Day breaks up after replacing Big E on Raw. The New Day has been facing a tough time on Monday Night Raw lately. A female WWE superstar has even predicted that the faction might be on the verge of breaking up. For several months, the New Day has been embroiled in a feud with the Final Testament. Karrion Kross has been working hard to get inside Xavier Woods' head, hoping to drive a wedge between Woods and his partner, Kofi Kingston. Scarlett now feels that the faction could be on the brink of falling apart after the most recent episode of Raw. Recently, Odyssey Jones joined the fray, teaming up with the New Day to take down the Final Testament. However, Woods hasn't been thrilled about Jones stepping in and stealing the spotlight. We could leave him alone. Think about it. You've beaten a former King of the Ring. You've beaten a former world champion. AOP has beaten one of the greatest tag team championship groups of all time. You're like a parasite. You've laid eggs in their heads, you just have to let it rot. Things aren't gonna turn out the way they think they are. You've already won. Everything you touch dies in time. So, just let it happen the way it's supposed to. But I see you have a lot of pent-up energy. I can take care of that, Scarlett said. The Herald of Doomsday agreed with Scarlett to wrap up the interview. It seems the Final Testament has come very close to breaking up. The New Day, after nearly 10 years. The New Day was one of WWE's top factions for almost a decade. Big E, Xavier Woods, and Kofi Kingston formed one of the most iconic trios in modern wrestling. However, Big E's unfortunate injury has sidelined him, and it's uncertain if he'll ever return to the ring. Odyssey Jones was recently introduced as an ally to the faction and has helped Woods and Kingston in their battles against the Final Testament. Still, Xavier Woods isn't thrilled about Jones, who is 30, stepping into the spotlight of this rivalry. While WWE fans might see Kofi and Odyssey team up for a while, there's a chance the 37-year-old Kofi could eventually betray them and go solo. Xavier Woods, who hasn't been in the spotlight since winning the King of the Ring tournament, might also pose a threat as a heel on Raw. Randy Orton poses with WWE World Heavyweight title after Raw. Randy Orton made his return to WWE at Survivor Series in November after being away for a long time due to a severe back injury, and he has been on a roll since then. He stood tall on Raw this week and posed with the WWE World Heavyweight Championship after the show went off the air. During the August 19th edition of Monday Night Raw, the main event featured a match between Randy Orton and Ludwig Kaiser. The match started with Kaiser attacking Orton from behind, leading to a double team by Kaiser and Gunther. The main event ended with Orton and Gunther brawling, and Orton delivering an eye poke to Gunther. In a digital exclusive after Raw, Randy Orton talked to the World Heavyweight Championship and then proceeded to pose with it. He then returned the title to Gunther and celebrated with the audience. We will have to wait and see whether the Apex Predator will be able to topple the Ring General at WWE Bash in Berlin on August 31st, as Orton certainly has a lot of momentum behind him right now. What's your view on how Randy Orton stood tall over Gunther? Do you believe he will become the new WWE World Heavyweight Champion? The WWE abruptly cuts Braun Strowman from TV. WWE Raw saw the arrival of Braun Strowman this week as he decided to step in after things went very wrong on the show. However, the company decided to cut away from his return within seconds, and it seems uncertain why. On Raw this week, Bronson Reed was in the middle of another destructive appearance. Over the last few weeks, he has destroyed Seth Rollins and R-Truth to send a message to everyone in the locker room. He felt he was not being given the position on the show that he deserved, so he chose to take things into his own hands. This week, The Miz wanted revenge for what happened to R-Truth, but he could not get it. Instead, Reed demolished him in a vicious attack during their match. He was destroyed, and things were about to worsen until Braun Strowman suddenly appeared on the show. He came into the ring and made it clear that he would go after Reed next. Reed didn't back down either. However, after the two faced each other, without saying anything else, the feed suddenly cut away to the back. The segment ended abruptly, leaving everyone a little confused about what happened. It's not certain why WWE cut away from Braun Strowman, but it was jarring when Jackie Redmond suddenly interviewed Sheamus backstage. Paul Heyman on the idea behind WWE's booking of Brock Lesnar. WWE has not used Brock Lesnar in exactly 1 year and 2 weeks. The company nixed his return plans from earlier this year. It began distancing itself after the multi-time champion was linked to the sexual misconduct scandal against Vince McMahon and John Laurinaitis, brought on by a former WWE employee. Paul Heyman has just opened up on the thinking behind Lesnar in WWE. The Beast Incarnate was a champion amateur wrestler in high school and college. He signed a WWE developmental contract in 2000 and went on to dominate in pro wrestling and the UFC, with a brief stint in the NFL. He has been presented as a powerhouse since day one, and one of the most unique athletes to step into the squared circle. Paul Heyman says there was no other option. Sam Roberts interviewed the Wiseman for a live edition of Not Some Wrestling at the inaugural Fanatics Fest NYC on Saturday. The 46-year industry veteran was asked when Lesnar felt like he had mastered the art, not the sport, of pro wrestling psychologically and from a storytelling perspective. Brock Lesnar always had it. Brock Lesnar always understood. Brock Lesnar always knew he was unique. He was different. He wasn't going to be the same as everybody else. And the more he grew in stature and leverage, the more we could dictate the manner in which he was going to be presented. There's no one like Brock Lesnar. I mean, even his most die-hard competitors will tell you there's no one like Brock Lesnar. So we were not going to ever put him in a position where he was just going to be like everybody else, Paul Heyman said. Lesnar has not wrestled since losing to Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam on August 5th, 2023. The near 18-minute match was the series tiebreaker after Lesnar won in just under 10 minutes at Night of Champions in late May, and Cody won in just under 10 minutes in early May at Backlash. Brock Lesnar has changed his look several times over the years. However, a new photo of the two-time Royal Rumble winner indicates that he is much smaller than before. The Conqueror was billed at 286 pounds the last time he wrestled in 2023. The WWE Universe believes Lesnar has lost some weight while away from the ring, as seen in this new photo that surfaced this past week. Lesnar's return remains up in the air. At one point, he was scheduled for the 2024 Royal Rumble, but got linked to Vince McMahon's sexual misconduct scandal just 2 days before the event. Sources indicated that Lesnar was replaced in the Rumble by Braun Breaker, who was still in NXT at that time. There were still plans for Brock to work WrestleMania XL as of the week after the Rumble, but that did not happen. Cody Rhodes disappoints his fans. Cody Rhodes is undoubtedly one of the most beloved members of the WWE family, and fans all around the world want to meet him no matter what. Unfortunately, there were quite a few fans who were unable to meet him at Fanatics Fest today for a photo op. The Fanatics Fest has been taking place at the Javits Center in New York City, where WWE superstars have a very strong presence for good reason. After all, fans get to have better interactions with their favorite WWE superstars at the convention. Cody Rhodes was obviously a huge draw for Fanatics Fest, and the final day was no different, as he took part in numerous meet and greets, as well as a panel to sign autographs. However, not every fan got the chance to see him despite booking for photo ops with Cody Rhodes. A fan took to Twitter and expressed their frustration with Fanatics Fest, calling it a joke. They mentioned that their scheduled photo op with Cody Rhodes was originally set for 12 p.m., but they didn't receive the email about the time change to 10:30 a.m. until 11:27 p.m. the night before. When they arrived, they were told to come back at 1:10 p.m., but by 2:20 p.m. they were informed that Cody had already left and that they would receive refunds. The fan was clearly upset, ending their message with angry emojis. "Screw you, Fanatics! Your Fanatics Fest is an absolute joke. I had my Cody Rhodes photo op at 12, but didn't get the email that it was changed to 10:30 a.m. till 11:27 p.m. Was told to come back at 1:10, and at 2:20, we were told he left and are getting refunds." Another fan shared their disappointment, describing the event as chaotic, especially regarding the meet and greets. They mentioned that their birthday gift was ruined because they couldn't meet Cody Rhodes due to overselling. The fan expressed how upset they were, tagging Cody Rhodes and Fanatics Fest in their message. "Bro, this is awful. This whole event has been so chaotic when it comes to meet and greets. I just had my birthday gift ripped away. Couldn't meet Cody BC, these idiots oversold. I'm so upset." Cody Rhodes on Curious. Another fan reached out to Cody Rhodes on Twitter, expressing their disappointment after learning they wouldn't be able to meet him at Fanatics Fest. They mentioned that they were just 4th and 5th in line before everything was canceled. Despite traveling all the way from Quebec, Canada, they remained hopeful about seeing Cody at WrestleMania in Las Vegas. Yo, Cody Rhodes. Not sure what happened at Fanatics Fest, but we were heartbroken when we learned we wouldn't be able to see you as we were 4 and 5th left in the lane before they canceled everything after riding all the way from Quebec, Canada. I hope we can see you at WM at Vegas. During his panel, Cody Rhodes addressed facing John Cena during his retirement tour. However, it is unfortunate that so many fans were unable to get to meet Cody Rhodes due to such disorganization from Fanatics Fest. So we'll have to see whether Cody Rhodes will manage to sort something out for them. What do you think of this story concerning Cody Rhodes fans not being able to meet him at Fanatics Fest due to rampant disorganization and improper planning? The Rock left the Dry. Former WWE head writer Vince Russo feels The Rock's departure made a huge dent in the company's weekly programming. He stated that WWE was producing lackluster TV shows every week. The final boss was heavily involved with the creative process and weekly shows in the build-up to WrestleMania. In fact, he even wrestled a tag team encounter on night 1 of Mania. However, the People's Champ left after the show of shows to focus on his projects outside the business. This week on Sportskeeda Wrestling's Legion of Raw, Russo claimed that WWE was producing glorified house shows for their weekly episodes of Raw and SmackDown. He pointed out that there was a brief improvement during The Rock's stint, but now the company was back to putting on boring matches. "We're back to the house shows. We are just back to the house shows. Let's be honest, the only reason we got out of the house show cycle was because The Rock came back. That was the only reason. We have slid right back into televised house shows. The Rock's last WWE came on the Raw after WrestleMania, where he confronted Cody Rhodes. He told the American Nightmare that their story was just getting started. The Hollywood star said he needed to leave the wrestling business for a while, but would return soon. It will be interesting to see when the final boss decides to return to WWE. The Rock is behind Solo Sikoa. Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa are currently feuding over the Ula Fala on WWE SmackDown. However, a WWE analyst thinks the Bloodline's leadership symbol could end up around a third superstar's neck. The superstar in question is none other than The Rock. The final boss has been absent from television since Raw after Mania. However, many believe he could return to play a role in the ongoing Bloodline Civil War. On his Not Some Wrestling podcast, WWE analyst Sam Roberts brought up multiple scenarios for The Rock's anticipated comeback, including him capturing the Ula Fala. He suggested the Bloodline members would then have to choose between supporting Reigns or The Rock, with Sikoa backing the latter. It would be very interesting to get to a point where maybe when Roman Reigns and The Rock are feuding with each other, what if Roman has the entire family at his back? What if? What if when The Rock comes back, there's another debate as to who the tribal chief is? What if the Ula Fala goes off Solo Sikoa's neck, but it doesn't go to Roman Reigns? It goes to The Rock. And now people have to make their choices, not between Solo Sikoa and Roman Reigns, but between Roman Reigns and The Rock, with Solo Sikoa backing up The Rock? While addressing the war between Solo Sikoa's bloodline and Roman Reigns on the Busted Open podcast, WWE Hall of Famer Mark Henry claimed The Rock was the happiest person with the original tribal chief and his former enforcer building up the value of the Ula Fala. The former world heavyweight champion predicted that the final boss would eventually have the Ula Fala around his neck and declare himself the tribal chief. You know who is praying and hoping for the success in the vying of the Ula Fala more than anybody, including Roman Reigns? The Rock. He's like, go on, build it up. Build it up, because it's gonna come a day, Roman, where the tire is gonna meet the road and I'm gonna have the Ula Fala around my neck because I am the tribal chief. He already said it, that he was the business. Come on, Jonathan. That goes beyond I'm the champion. I am the business, he said. Meanwhile, Sam Roberts suggested another scenario that would see an unexpected twist in the Bloodline storyline. He proposed that Reigns could beat Sikoa before uniting the original and the new Bloodline groups into one super faction under his leadership. It would be interesting to see if any of these predictions would come true.